wife is an AP. I know, and it is weird. It is weird. After our wedding night, she actually gave me a success plan. I swear to God. I looked at my evaluation. Needs improvement. Needs improvement. Comedy is important to me because, number one, I love to make people laugh. I like to make the audience laugh. I love to make my students laugh. But more importantly, I realized finally it's who I am. I mean, I love to be funny with the students, and I love to be funny on stage, and it is the best of both worlds. It is my solace. It is who I am. I said, kids, no matter what I say, I want you to raise your hand. Raise your hand. If you know the answer, give me 5 fingers, right? And if you don't know it, give me 4. My final observation said, Mr. Rivera, we've never seen a more engaged class in our lifetime. You are highly effective. Thank you.
What's going on, everybody? This is Nathaniel Provencio with my good friend, Dr. Worster. What's up, man?
Hey, everybody. Great to see you, Nathaniel.
It's toward that end of the year where it's like this whole storm of like this cacophony of just like stuff to finish up. And Eric, I remember at the end of the year as a teacher, my sinuses and my allergies would just be so bad with people like taking like posters down and moving desks and cleaning things out. And my eyes would be bleeding and snot and all kinds of stuff. Mike, are you still in the classroom, sir?
Yes, I'm still in the classroom, and I got out an hour and a half ago today. And speaking of what you just said, I have duct tape on my ceiling from the leaks. And my kids have pointed that out for the whole year. A year and a half ago, I had to get sinus surgery. And then when they go up there, it's like, oh, nothing's wrong, nothing's wrong. And every kid is just like, another drop, Mr. Rivera, and stuff like that. So, yes.
Oh,
well
my
aware.
gosh.
And then
Your tax dollars at work.
First time in 40 years, they're going to be painting our school in our 8th grade wing. So they just said you have to take all your stuff up. So everything, I've been in the 8th grade wing now for 15 years, and I have posters and stuff of me. I did the EF tours for 13 years of places all around the world. I had to just I didn't take them out. I have great kids that they will do a lot for a pack of chocolates. So that's who did it, and they're wonderful.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got Mike Rivera on the Community Connection. One of the funniest, not just teachers out there, just one of the funniest human beings out there. Mike, I love your work. I was talking with Eric. I was like, listen, I've been following like this guy named Mike. You know, he's on the like Bored Teachers Comedy Tour. I saw him on The View. We got to talk about The View. I was like, Eric, reach out to this cat. We got to get him on the show. Mike Rivera said yes, man. So what's going on? And you're out of like the Tampa Bay area, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm in Pinellas County, Florida, Tampa Bay area, and it is hot. It is hot, very hot here, and we had no air conditioning today, so we are. That doesn't shock us anymore.
Tampa Bay's a beautiful place, but it's kind of like a city with no HOA. Like you could just like have buildings all over the place, and there's not really like a rhyme or rhythm to like the land planning. Do you agree with this?
There, as we say in pre-AP, there's no spatial reorganization planning in this area. So there you go. And my kids better have got that right today.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, Eric, I am probably the least funniest human being on earth. Eric, much funnier than I am. Eric has a much more of a dry sense of humor. I kind of go for like the lowbrow comedy kind of stuff. So I don't know. Eric, why don't you kick us off with a question, man? Let's dig into Mike Rivera's brain.
All right, Mike.
Go for it.
Oh, there you go. Cheers. I'll cheers to that in my red solo cup. There we go.
There you go.
So, Mike, like Nathaniel mentioned, doing the comedy, we don't meet a lot of people who have both of those backgrounds with one foot in the classroom and one foot on the comedy stage. How did you just combine those two? How did those worlds collide? What got you started in education? What got you started in comedy? And how did you link those two things?
Let's go. So I started out after college, always pursue your dreams. So I tried to be a stand-up comic in the San Francisco Bay Area. I went to school at San Jose State. So it's an incredible community for comedians. I mean, I always talk about this probably and by the way, my 26-year teaching, I've been in it a long time.
Oh, wow.
But one of the coolest things in my life, when you would talk about starting out as a young comedian who I got to follow, this is on the top list. I once had to follow Robin Williams.
Wow. Wow.
That was amazing. And it was the greatest death of all time because I told my friends, could you do some time after he goes on? It was like a little
Mhm.
room that fits 50 people. And it was his home club. He would just drive over the bridge. He'd go up there and they paid like $5. And they're thinking they're getting a showcase of 10 comics, 10 minutes, right? Showcase night. He
Wow.
walks in, he does an hour. The people are just, it's like time has stopped. There's a bubble around the Holy City Zoo, which
Yeah.
is one of the best places for comedy. And we're watching this, and I'm going, I gotta follow this. And so I became a teacher. So that's
So Robin Williams, that's funny. Like I love comics. I love comedy. I travel around for work, and a lot of times when I'll seek out, like, even if it's just an open mic comedy night, or just any of these like clubs, and I'm even if it's just like someone who just has the guts to get up on stage the very first time, I'm in awe by that, because that takes like 2 minutes worth of material, takes like 20 years of life to be able to talk about. Um,
totally agree.
yeah, and it's just amazing. So I'm always in awe. And like, we were all teachers, and like, our classroom is kind of the stage, and like our kids are kind of our audience. What's harder, a room full of inebriated adults or a room full of eighth graders?
It has to be the eighth graders because they will call you out on anything and they're not afraid to call you out. They're not afraid to tell you you're not funny. And that's why your classroom management that you have from stand up really blends in by
Mm,
not showing them using the mask of stand-up comedy. It's comedy and tragedy that we use together and blending with that and just and weaving. And I would say the difference, both of them, what they have in common is psychological.
mm,
Know your audience, know who you're playing to, know your references, know what they're expecting each time. Eighth graders, it's like you got to bring it to them, and that's what I always tell young teachers. It's like nowadays, and back in the day when I was started teaching, that you got the respect. You don't get the respect anymore. You got to
Mhm.
earn that respect from them, and that is one of the first things I try to do. And lots of self-deprecating of humor where I give a joke and I know it's going to bomb and I go ha, and now by the end of the year they just stare at me, but it's almost like they know it's okay. And that's the thing for me as a teacher and even comic. It's almost like the physicality. My kids know when I'm walking around a certain part of the room, we can relax, but when
mm.
I'm doing something else here, okay, now we're in serious mode. And it is amazing how within the first 5 or 6 weeks they can pick that up. So I can see when they're chilling, and I can see, and the same thing with an audience. When you see if they're like this in an
Yeah.
audience, like, oh, we gotta, hey, let's go. Same thing. But again, but working, and so I always used to say teaching eighth grade is like doing 6 headlining sets at a at a hell club. And you gotta keep pounding and pounding and pounding away. And that's why, and I'm very ADD myself,
Mm,
so that really helps me out. And I like to always, chunk it. That is, and let's talk about. I love chunking things, this, and then go on to something next
yeah.
because their attention span is like my attention span. And one thing I always do in the classroom, if something's boring, man, I will tell them it's boring, but I say, we got to do it. And I will thank them and I'll go, I'm going to make this up to you and things like that. Again, if never, never try to con a middle school kid because they will call you out in a second. And so that you learn that and it makes you, it's weird how my kids always say, you're like a big kid that teaches us, but you have boundaries.
Yeah.
They always say he'll be the coolest teacher, but never the disrespect. And that's the thing. We're not there. Every teacher, I have 147 students. I want them all to, oh, you're the best in this. Well, guess what? Maybe 130
Yeah.
think I am. And it took me 26 years in the classroom to realize, well, maybe that's not bad.
Yeah.
You don't have
Yeah.
to get that 147. But let me tell you, the first 15 or something years, they all have to think I'm funny. They all have to think I'm the best teacher and stuff like that. When they mention who their favorite teacher, why not me? But now it's, let it go.
Yeah.
Let it go. Time to relax.
Mike, do you ever have any like life imitating art moments where your students who know that you might talk about your class, will they try to do things to try to get themselves featured in your act?
They just say that. It's just, they know because I laugh. They know my real laugh, and that's what I love about my students. When they hear me, they go, "Oh, that's your real laugh, Mister. That must be really funny." And it's really more. And then he says, "Are you going to use that in the act?" I go, "You better believe it." And they are the ones that come up. And just a quick story. I remember once because we have the you know, kids, I have kids that can hack into anything. I have kids that are creating Bitcoin. That's not a lot. Okay.
Wow.
They know all this stuff. So I have to see their screens. I have to do that. And then when we talk about laptop responsibility, I always say, one of the stories is I said, what would happen if your parents saw this? What would happen if the authorities saw this? And this one kid, I'll just say his name, Dominic, goes, "Oh, Mr. Rivera, I'd be in jail." Then this one kid, say his name is Rusty, goes, "Mr. Rivera, I'd be on death row." And I just started screaming, going, I love it. And here's the thing, when a kid says something funny, laugh and go, I
Yeah,
shouldn't laugh, but I pound the table. And by the way, every teacher, I got my Jolly Ranchers, I got my Dum Dum Lollipops. I throw them and said, "You made me laugh. You made
that's
me
awesome.
laugh." And I love that. And the kids know that, and that's what's really special about them. No, don't, I
I
got 5 cats and three
You
dogs.
got 5 cats. I got 3 cats, man. It's dinner time over
Yes.
here in Northern Virginia. So,
Yes.
and I've already fed them. So, what are you going to do? It's funny,
Yes.
Eric. I don't know if you remember this. Like, there was just probably hilarious moments that happened every single like hour in our
Oh,
classrooms when we
sure.
taught. But I
Yep.
remember as a new teacher, I was like, I can't laugh at that. They would say like a kid would like break wind or something like that, or like someone would just, I was like, I
Health
can't laugh
class.
at that. This is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life, but if I laugh at it, I'm lowering my guard and I'm not being that sage on the stage a little bit. I think towards the end of my teacher career, I was just like, I would laugh with them like that's the funniest thing I've ever heard or I've ever seen. And I think that we forget that, laughter is like healing. Like humor is like so therapeutic and cathartic in a way. And you're part of the board teachers comedy
Yes.
tour.
Yes.
And on one hand, Mike, I am a very um, a guarded advocate for educators and principals and teachers and the beautiful profession that makes all professions possible. So I have a high regard for our craft. But on the other hand, I like to kind of make fun of it too. I mean, like I can live in both worlds. Tell us a little bit about that board teachers tour, and you're around these great educators that are also equally great comics. How has laughter kind of helped the tone and the timbre of education in the last couple of years, especially after the pandemic?
Well, the pandemic, and again, it's we were talking about that today, saying it is night and day after the pandemic, and for some of the teachers that were on the tour that maybe aren't teachers anymore, it's like you thought you had it,
Yeah.
thought you had it rough back then. You should be teaching now. It is been going on, but the board teachers, it's amazing because we play amazing venues. We sometimes we did 2 years ago, we did the stand-up tour around comedy clubs, but now we're doing theaters. You're doing 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 teachers, playing to 2,000 teachers. That is amazing. I got to close out Ruth Eckerd Hall, Pinellas County, 2,100 people, and it's all teachers and stuff. And it's bringing them together. It's showing them that we get you. We get you. We know what's up. We're saying the things you can't say.
Hmm.
And sometimes I'll say that I will say the things that they're really afraid to say, and that's what I like. Because again, I am the veteran teacher, and that's what I've seen everything in 26 years. I have seen everything, and I like to throw it out there because you have to. You have to. Some people are afraid to just tell little cutesy stories, and that's nothing wrong with that. But me, I like to go pow pow
Yeah.
pow. It's like even I got to perform at the AFT convention too. And then I remember a certain president that says, "Man, I thought I hit hard," and that was a big compliment. And then
That's awesome.
then I remember one teacher said, "If you said that in my state, you can imagine what they said would be what happened to me."
Well,
But I like to do that. It's important.
I want to know what you said. Like, what's a bit that you do that's just really right on that cusp of like action plan? Like, you know what I mean? What's a
Okay,
little
well,
bit that you do?
okay, well, one I was well, one that it's a weird reaction because sometimes comedy clubs they'll get a big laugh. But when you do it to teachers, they're too, oh, it's like you've hit that nerve.
Mm.
And I remember when I always talk about the parent teacher conference, they'll always say, Mr. Vera, why'd you fail my son? And I go, well, why not? You did. And I got to
Mm.
pause because all I hear is a, ooh, they're afraid. And then they start to applaud because then they know what's happening there.
Yeah.
That bit just, it's weird how the teachers react to that when they should be applauding me like the regular audiences do,
Yeah.
but they're
That's
not
awesome.
used
Thanks
to
for
that.
sharing that. That's great. That's great.
Mike, do you ever get pushback? Like, have you ever done a joke where, I'm sure you have, where the
Yeah.
audience or teachers respond, or your admin says, Mike, we don't want that one getting down the airwaves. Do you ever get that? How do you know that line?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it depends where I'm playing. Because sometimes I will get not, for example, I did a joke about, teaching in Florida, and you got the blue and the red states or the purple states or whatever.
Yeah.
And when you have your teacher gear on, you in some states you're a target for verbal abuse. And they once said, oh, what are you, some liberal indoctrination specialist? And I
Mm.
go, dude, I teach driver's ed. And then my next line is, yeah, but I only teach left turns. And it depends where you do those jokes. When I'm in the Northeast, oh my God, it is when I was doing shows in New Jersey and in Rhode Island and in Connecticut and in New York, they're like, bring it on, just go
Yeah.
after them, stuff like that. And then, but certain states, it's like, oh, we don't want to go there. We don't want to go there. For the board teachers show, usually it's just, but it's predominantly female teachers. We're
Mm.
talking 90% female teachers, okay? And the ranges, from 35 to 65 and stuff like that. So when I play a comedy club, it's equal. I used to do a lot of shows for like teachers associations, union people, and stuff like that. And they were more hardcore, but the board teacher show, you have to learn. It took me a while to learn that fine weaving where I can still hit hard, but not go that far.
You got to know your audience. You got, one joke might kill in New Hampshire, same joke, you will get killed in another
You
state.
will.
You
You
will.
will. And
So, Mike, I'm always interested in the art and alchemy of comedy, right? I mean, the art is to be, when things happen, you're riffing, you're in the moment, you've got all this material. It's almost like a jazz performance, like the music, but you don't let the sheet kind of hold you back. And and so much practice has to go in to comedy, from what I understand. I'm just curious about what Mike Rivera's art and alchemy is. How do you prepare for 5 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour? What goes into that? Because this is a world that a lot of people don't really know about. I don't really know a lot about it. Eric was just saying that you were at a comedy club like the DC Improv a couple
Yep.
weeks ago,
Yep.
and I'm blown away. So I'm just curious, man. I want to pick your brain about the art and alchemy of presenting and comedy and writing.
you make a great analogy with jazz. And here's the thing, jazz is really good till they do that improvisation, maybe that 20, 30-second improvisation. Oh, that's so funny. But if you do it for 5, 10, 15 minutes, no. Know when to go back to the material.
Mm.
Go to a safe spot. One of the things I like to do is when I do the board teachers, I do my research. Always do your research. So I will find out what districts are there, what counties are there, and when you do that, they're like, oh my God, he knows about us. Or I'll find something um, about what's going on in town, or I found out where the certain districts get more, how should I say, poked fun at. And,
Mm.
and I use those. And when you hit that in the beginning of your set, you've broken the fourth wall basically, because they know he's not doing that everywhere else. I was
Mm.
in La Crosse, Wisconsin. That's the place where they had the professor at UW who had his OnlyFans page. Do you remember that by chance?
I mean, I don't remember the
And
OnlyFans page, but
so what happened? But so I came out there, and the wonderful and Casey Mack does. He's one of the mainstays of board teachers. Absolutely hysterical. But he opens a show, then can close it. He does a show where he's doing the little twerking, dancing to pump up the crowd.
yeah.
And so then I come off. So when I come on the stage, I said, gave it up for Casey, and I said, wow. with that, look at him jumping down toward, I said, wow, if he could almost give so and so, and I say the guy's name, a
Yeah.
run for his money, and they just exploded because they had no idea I knew about that. And
That's
that the
so
fact
funny.
that I made fun of them and put it there, and I have it on tape, I should send it to you. The
Yeah.
pop from that laugh was the biggest one I ever got in my life. The first year of teaching, and this is when you talk, how do you know teaching became,
Hmm.
how did it relate? A kid comes over, and it's always great when kids will rat out other kids. And I
Oh,
always
sure.
tell kids, everyone hates a tattletale except Mr. Rivera, and they will always, that's how I do, choral response. Everyone hates a tattletale except Mr. Rivera. Always stuff like that. And so one day, a kid just comes up to me. His eyes are like this. He goes, "There's a letter there. You got to read, Mr." I'm like, "What is it?" And so, you don't go down the regular. You do a little ninja move, right? Because the kid's gonna hide it. So I do my little ninja move, and I just, got the letter, and it said, and again, I'll try it. It said, "People I'm going to unalive." Okay,
Hmm.
Mm.
and you got, and then I said, "Oh," and so then, but here's the teachable moment. And of course, you're looking if your name's on it, right?
Yep.
But what happened was, this is why I love math teachers. They got into a screaming fight about, this is no lie, about which one should be first on the list. Because that's how math teachers are. I should be first on the list. I should be first. I give the most homework. Why not? They were arguing about who should be first on the list. Unbelievable. And
Oh,
that's
geez.
the angry math teacher has been at my school, one of my dearest friends. Yeah, but they weren't upset about they're not on the list. I should be number one.
Is the ranking.
I,
And that
I
was
love
26 years ago.
I love
Yeah,
the macabre
it's
humor.
crazy.
Some people are going to be so offended by that. I think it's funny. I mean,
But
what are you going to do?
it's not, it's the truth.
It's
It
the
is
truth.
if you know some of these teachers that have been there for 30 years, they have that edge to them. It's like, and
Oh, I
it's
love
like,
it.
but you can't, one thing is, but that has changed now. That has changed with all the
That's
active shooter
changed.
things.
I know you
Absolutely.
can't say that joke anymore. Dr. Worster.
Yo, Mike, I'd love to hear, just like you said, you can't say that joke anymore. How long have you been doing stand-up?
Forever, like over 30 years.
Have you seen a change in the last 5 years? Like in what you can or can't say, or just how the times have changed?
And again, it depends with the audience because in the past 3 years, now it's becoming okay to say certain things that we couldn't say.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's that whole it's the whole Rogan sphere stuff with
Hmm.
Hinchcliffe and Rogan and Theo Von and Shane Gillis and Tim Dillon, the Bros comedy.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Where they're going after it, and I'm like going, that's a bit more low. Meaning, it's not as far as macabre. It's more about the best point, punching down.
Hmm.
Don't
Hmm.
punch down.
Hmm.
Punching down now is acceptable. That's don't punch down.
Yeah. I mean, if someone has, and I think that's an idiot who knows nothing about comedy, right? Like my comedic hero growing up was George Carlin. I absolutely love George Carlin. I remember my dad would watch George Carlin like HBO specials, and he was so cerebral. I don't know, Dr. Worsh, if you know anything about George Carlin, just so he was just so sharp and so pointed with his political commentary. And, the seven words you can't say. And I don't see a lot of comics as intellectual as George Carlin. And I think at one point, you know, early 80s, late 70s, you had like Richard Pryor, you had George Carlin, Robin Williams. To me, he would just like, I always was like, is his comedy, is that planned, or is he just improvising the whole time,
Half
but
improv and pseudo improv, by the way.
yeah, yeah. So I don't know. Like I hear what you're saying. It's like on one hand, maybe there is a place for I don't want to say PC, politically correct comedy, but just knowing your audience and respecting who's still buying those tickets or who's paying attention. I don't ever want to be part of the joke. I want to laugh at the jokes. And I get a little cringy at that sometimes. I don't know if you would agree with that or not.
But that's why now there's all comic is now niche. That's why we got a teacher comedy tour, so we know what we can get away with. And if a joke's not working, then we're fine with that. Then you got the blue collar comedy tour, a white collar comedy tour. There's nurses now that do comedy.
Mm.
The whole internet has just made everything so everyone has their little place niche. But of course, what's been going on in the past couple of years, that's exploded, with the other thing, and that's why I like hearing Jesselneck. Watch some of his interviews. I like hearing Bill Burr who are saying, no, 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 no.
Mm.
Speak truth to power.
Yeah.
That's what I like there.
Yeah. I love it.
So
What do you think about Bill Maher, Mike?
I think he's becoming Dennis Miller.
Mm.
Okay, and I like Dennis Miller. I like Bill Maher because I think he speaks truth to power, like you said. So there are people who would love for him to be put in a box, and he refuses to do so. And he finds usually, I think, very humorous takes on whatever left or right. He will hit in every direction, and I'm there for it.
Yeah, it's so being a fan from the early days, because do you remember how Dennis Miller ended?
Mm.
He ended up having his own show on RT, Russian TV. He went
Oh
so
wow, that's not
far.
good.
Yeah, and
I
that's
just remember him on
oh,
like Monday Night Football, and he
He was
was
on
terrible.
Saturday Night. He was on Saturday Night Live. He was like the weekend update guy.
Yeah.
yeah, he was amazing. He was popping this, and then he changed more. He started going right and right further there, and that's when it's like, and then and Mara, who had politically incorrect, then took over for how it's been like what 20 something years now on that.
Mm.
And so I've been enjoying him, but sometimes when Mar does things, I like, certain people will call him out too. It's like, if he has to admit when he messes up too.
Mhm.
No one's infallible, speak truth to power to him. So I enjoy some of his shows, but certain times when he has his guest, I'm going, nail them, go for it, and he's not doing it as much as he used to. That's my opinion, and things like that.
Yeah. Mike, I got a question about hecklers. And I'm sure in
Yes.
your early career, we got hecklers. You mentioned this in your classroom. You're going to have hecklers all the time, right? And we kind of like, welcome that with our kids. When you're on an audio, does that prepare you like when because we're not infallible from being heckled on the stage, I'm sure. How do you handle that? How do you turn an embarrassing moment into something that's going to, not throw you off your track when you're on the comedy stage, still be able to get through your show, honor that person or not honor that person? I don't know if you got any war stories or like heckler stories, but I'm curious about that.
It's giving the heckler the opportunity to take over the show. So one thing
Mm-hmm.
I like to do is I go fast pace. Pow, pow, pow. Here's one, here's another, here's another, here's another, here's another. If there's dead space in your act, well, guess what?
Mm.
That's when the heckler will seize the opportunity to go in there. And it's like going, no, 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 no. So I will just be like, when I'm doing my headline, say 45 minutes to an hour, I'm just like going pow, pow, pow. And when I first started comedy, they said, you can't do that. I go, no, you can't do that. I will. Because I'm so anxiety ridden. If
Mm.
they're not laughing, this is my mentality, and a lot of comics too. If they're not laughing at me, I think they hate me.
Mm. Mm.
And so it's that fight or flight. And mine is to fight with just keep, get the quick jokes in there. I'm not a
Mm.
long storyteller because I feel uncomfortable with the silence. I need to hear the laughter to know we're it's like my comedy act is like a train, right? Let's get on, choo 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 choo, and stuff like that, because it's not stopping. I'm not stopping this train for the heckler. We're just going there, and you're gonna come with me,
Yeah.
and you have to almost bring it. Watch what I'm gonna do right now to you. It's almost the same in the classroom too. Remember, it's very effective when we're talking like this, and then watch the
Mhm.
hand when it comes there. So you can be on stage, and it's all, let's say, uh, again, psychological visual clues. If you ever see a comic and a couple of jokes bomb, he starts going, "Oh, what about this one? Next joke's bomb." You see what I'm doing? But
Mm.
if you
You know?
keep going, inching towards them, same thing with if the teacher's out there, use that. It's like I don't fear you. A lot of times, if there's like we didn't have a good turnout for a club, what I do is I'll put the mic. Sometimes I'll even go out in the audience and just sit down there.
Mhm.
Or I'll have there's like if there's no one in the front row, I will put my foot on that chair, and and to the audience it shows, oh, this guy's comfortable. This
Mm.
he has no fear here. He's having fun. I go, and that's the thing. Your goal in comedy is to tickle them. If you tickle them, guess what? They're going to smile. Then they're going to laugh at the joke. So
Yeah.
try to tickle them too. And that's great for teachers. Tickle them. Tickle them.
I do a lot of presentation. None of my stuff is funny. But when I present to different audiences with my 9 to 5, I always find that my elementary audience, they love whatever I'm saying. Like I usually, and I'm an elementary kind of background person. My middle school folks, they're a little bit of a squirrely audience. A little bit. They're a little bit more skeptical. I wouldn't call them cynical. That's the high school folks. They're the ones that always sit in the back, very cynical. If you know, don't waste my time, don't waste my time. Do you, Eric, do you see the same thing? It's like elementary, it's like, okay, I got you, we're vibing, we're riving, we're good. Middle schools are a little bit like, okay, I hear you, but you know, what's up? High school people are just like, I ain't got time for you. Mike, same thing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The pre-K, when we do the shows, the pre-K and the, hashtag for pre-K element, hashtag hand turkeys and macaroni art, I would say. But it's, yeah, the middle school teacher, it's like, no, middle school, it is a certain, uh, it's, can I do my joke? Middle school, where every day is January 6th and I'm Mike Pence. That's my line.
Oh,
And boy, middle school teachers, yep, that's what it is. For high school teachers, you don't sugarcoat it. I'm going to make a joke about Jeans Day. I'm going to do this. Hey guys, let's do a little warm up dance and stuff like that. No, I'm not dancing on stage.
You're not
I'm not
dancing.
dancing. Okay. I'm here for the facts. I'm here to tell you this is, one of the themes. It's our struggle together. We're doing this. And here's all the stuff. Here's the bleep that we cannot take. And I'm mad as hell. I can't take anymore, but we're doing this together.
Yeah.
We are in the same boat here. And you got to make that community and say, here we go. But it is but with 1,500 people averaging a show now, it goes well. You got to ease them into certain material. There's always certain jokes you want to start off with. For me, it's always do a local reference and stuff. Okay, he knows about us. Then what's a good target to talk about? Let's talk about teacher pay, right? Let's do bits about that. I do a whole thing about that. Then let's talk about observations. Let's talk about truths in teaching,
Mm.
And one of the lines that always pops for me, which does not pop in a regular club, but when I say this truth about teaching, I said, the evilest bleeps on the planet are the kids that have the most biblical names. And my God, people are, and then I mentioned this kid, Elijah, who
Oh,
every
sure.
Elijah I've had is always, like I said, Satan has his artwork on his refrigerator. And to see the people go, I have an Elijah. But do you understand? It's like learning and then you hit them. It's like a boxing match. You're
Yeah.
setting them up for when you throw the heavy blows in there.
Gosh, I've never thought about the biblical names. And
You know,
now
biblical
you've got
names.
my
Okay.
brain thinking like I think the Old Testament names are much more challenging than the New Testament names. If I got
Like
an
Nathaniel.
Ezekiel, an Isaiah, and oh my God,
Nathaniel.
Nathaniel. Nathaniel is
Uh-huh.
very Old Testament. So
That's a tough one. Hey, Mike, you've been teaching for around 26 years. How has teaching changed?
Before it's more psychological. When first you started, you like, okay, I'm the teacher, I'm in charge. No. You walk in the classroom, we're in charge. Weave your magic. It's
mhm.
Harry Potter or whatever, something like that. And that's what I realize. And that there's tricks. And again, like for example, I always know if if a kid is a problem in my class. I was only in the past 4 years, I only written up maybe 3 referrals,
Mm,
and people next to me are writing 40 and 50,
yeah.
Mm.
and there's a reason why. You're always being aware, and that's the key thing there. But let's say I know if a kid's acting up in my class, oh, he's being a terror, and all the other, and I'll go, I won't write you up today. And then when he gets written up by the other teacher, I'll always say, and who's the one teacher? Who's the one teacher that didn't write you up? You, Mr. Ego. You owe me.
Yeah,
You just
sure.
developed a relationship there because you
Yeah.
know they're going to be going off in every other class.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So no, and knowing to pick your battles. That's the biggest thing I've learned in 26 years. People, with the pencils and stuff like that. I tried to get, pencils that are inscribed stolen from Mr. Rivera. And my principal said, no, you can't do that. But I thought, because, we go through 350 pencils a year. But I put the pencils there. I put the paper there. Let's not fight over that,
I love it.
you know?
Mike, let's talk about these because one thing that elementary teachers, middle school teachers, high school teachers all have in common are those big bad administrators. Like, and I was Eric, and Eric was a principal forever. I was a principal and a superintendent forever. Um, we probably deserve some ribbing. We probably deserve some jokes a little bit.
Yes.
What's some of your insights on administration and what are we doing that's hilarious and what are we doing that's kind of like it just needs to stop?
I've had some good admin and we've had some bad admin. Number one, we are told as teachers to make relationships with students to do that, which we do. In turn, admin was build relationships with teachers. You cannot come in there and just, have that stern face and stuff like that. That's not going to work. Build them up and don't tear them down. Because
Mm,
here's the thing, when I started teaching, you never left your school. You're
mm,
there, you're a lifer at that school. Well,
that's right.
guess what? In the past 10 years, no, you says something better, you move on. You don't stay at that school anymore. That's why you're seeing so many transfers, I know, in Florida. And that never happened. So me and my little buddies here that have been here 26 years, everyone else says if there's like a bad year, it's like, oh, I'm applying for a transfer. For 15, 17, we never did that.
Mm,
And now that's happening too much. My favorite thing is, don't call me toxic because I speak the truth,
mm,
you know? And that's something is, and then because karma will come back and bite you in the butt, and it does. And
yeah.
that's the thing. When I've been here for 26 years and I've seen things, and it's obvious, don't just be that dismissal of, oh, you don't know, when it's like going, the last time you taught was 15 years ago and you never taught this curriculum, and stuff like that. It's like, use us as guides. Use,
Mm,
we are there. And certain principles, I will, my old AP for a couple of years, when she would come in for an observation, well, here's the thing, she had 18 years of teaching experience. And she could come in and would just say, what are you talking about? Then she goes, sit down, Mr. Vera, let's talk about it.
mhm.
And I'm like going, oh, I love this
Yeah.
because she's walking the walk. She's
Mhm.
walking the walk. And that, to me, teachers want to see that. Demonstrate it to me. And don't demonstrate it with fear, demonstrate it with fun in the classroom. And for years before all the, all the stuff with the lockdown drills and stuff, I always had my door open. And that,
Mhm.
guess what? If you would walk by someone's classroom with their door open, what does that tell you as an admin?
They
They're
try.
inviting.
Yeah, you're inviting. They trust you.
No
Come on
fear.
in.
I,
No fear.
I'm inviting, and and that was the thing. So for years, I had my door open, and the kids knew that. I said, "Let them come in because we are working in my class. We are working. I'm going crazy, whatever. But guess what? They're invited to come in here. But now we have to have the doors closed,
Mm,
and so they don't know that, about me. But when they do, because then that little snapshot, whatever. Oh, the kids are being compliant. Well, we're at the beginning of a unit and doing so and so. Give me a break. You know, and that's the thing with admin. But I love the ones that will be there to build you up and treat the young teachers, help them, and for God's sake, don't just say go to a PD. I mean, we have, and that's how I got. I get verbally chastised. It's like, oh, Mr. Very, I'm not being toxic. I like, you got to help this person out. You got to show them techniques. You got to be there for them, or else guess what? They're leaving. And that's the sad part.
yeah.
It's building that community and talking with them and saying, what help do you need? You got it.
Yeah, I love it. Mike, with our time left, we do a little rapid fire, kind of like Q&A with our guests. Eric, if I may, I'd like to ask Mike Rivera his Mount Rushmore of comedians. What is it? 4 comedians? How many
Yep,
presidents
four.
on that Mount Rushmore?
Still four.
Still four. If the beautiful bill passes, maybe there'll
Five
be
invincible,
another
there'll be
one.
five, maybe
Let's
six.
let's just
Yeah.
keep it four. Let's just keep it four. So, all right, top four Mount Rushmore all-time comedians. Mike Rivera. Here you go.
Okay, well, of course, for me, because I love the style of Robin Williams. Then you could go with Carlin for his intellect. You could go with, and again, four, but you got to go old school because you got to listen to old Woody Allen.
Ooh.
I mean, his stuff was, oh my God, listen to his things, and it's amazing. And then if I'm going to put someone newer in there who I like, I put Bill Burr because
Bill
I like
Burr.
what instead of kowtowing now, he's doing that to
Mm,
them. And by the way, he isn't. It's amazing because when they're from Boston, that's how they grow up as comics. So they got to be that. And I love this. Use this with the young teachers. Tell them that. And you think he's dirty, but he's not.
yeah,
He's speaking that truth to power. And
Mike,
that's what I like about him.
love
But
it.
listen to old Woody Allen if you never have.
Hmm.
Mike, when you look out at the education landscape, what brings you hope?
When I have kids like I have this year, they are freaking wonderful. I just, in my videos and stuff, you wouldn't think, oh my God, they make me cry. They are the best kids, but I make sure we're learning in my class. My job is to make sure that when they were taking their pre-APs and I'm grading it going, and College Board is doing those 40 questions. They don't need a curve to pass the test. The county gives us a curve. I'm going, you guys don't need that curve. You've listened to me. You know about analyzing and interpret. Tell me what it is. Tell me what it means. Because in my class, when they come, they've never had a class like that before. They're looking for the answer. No, tell me what that is. Well, what does it mean? And when I'm seeing kids only miss 1, 2, or 3 or 4 today, I'm pounding, I'm doing their scores and going, you don't need a curve.
That's right.
And then I'm teaching them in my class how to do basically, because I know they're all going to AP next year, right? And I'm going, okay, so your little FRQ stuff, I'm teaching you that formula this year so that next year, and hopefully your teacher's going to get you to go farther for that one. But the kids, it's almost like, and they really show me lots of respect and a lot of love. And that's, and those, and by the way, it's all the kids though. And I always make sure, you always, the great kids are always going to be great and they're out there helping out. The other kids' behavior problems, yeah. But I always make sure those kids in between that don't say nothing, I will always make sure I talk with them, I get to know them. And the cards they give me at the end of the year saying, you always said, how are you doing? You always ask how my day. You always make me laugh. And these are the kids who never said a word in class. One of my favorite stories, we had a girl with selective mutism, right?
Mhm.
But she would just nod her head and stuff. And I would never, I'm like, and I would just wink at, yeah, you know this, and play her name and stuff. And I always talk about Paris. It's my favorite place in the world, right? And I've been there a bunch of times. I did EF tours. We could talk an hour on taking kids around the world. I did 13
wow.
trips of middle school kids. And so
Cool.
then, and then
Brave.
Paris has just been so special with me. And so then at the end of the year, the student comes in. And here's the thing, they're always paying attention. And she comes in with her friend and she has a bag. And then in her bag, she has this Eiffel Tower, doesn't say nothing, and just does that to me. We win.
We win.
Amazing.
And
And
on
the thing
that,
is,
we'll drop the
I
mic on
wish I
that
could
one.
talk more about my good kids online, but I don't, because guess what they get? That gets no views. But that's why I
Yeah.
teach.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Mike, man, hope, humility, and humor are the three words that comes to mind when I talk to you. I think that your comedy as well as your educational practice not only gives your kids and your community hope, but I think that teachers listening to you, I think you give them hope a little bit too, that maybe that little humor can get them past a storm that they're dealing with right now. And Eric, what a humble guest this is. I really appreciate that too. So that'll be the name of this podcast: Hope, Humor, and Humility with Mike Rivera. Mike, where can people find you, my friend? Where can people find you?
MrRiveraComedy.com. And again, I'll do my angry. I do this series where I do a parody of the Date Right Stuff guy, and people think I'm the biggest jerk on the planet, but I'm not. But because you know me. But the thing is always, and here's one thing we got to always add, always with the young teachers, have a safe place to vent at the end of the day. They come into my classroom for every year. 4 or 5, they come in and they just got to process, and be there for them and let them talk. And that's the thing, because we gotta help our young teachers.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Great.
Mike
Thanks,
Rivera,
Mike.
thank you so much for joining us on the Community Connection. Eric, what a cool guest, man. I really appreciate it.